All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to break down SAP's modern ABAP programming model, RAP, into a really simple step-by-step process. So if you've ever found yourself wondering how you actually build a modern Fiori app from the ground up, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, so first things first, what in the world is RAP? Well, it stands for the RESTful ABAP Programming Model. And basically, you can think of it as SAP's brand new go-to framework for building any Fiori app. It's the whole toolkit for creating these awesome cloud-ready applications and the powerful OData services that power them, all inside the ABAP environment we know and love. And that really brings us to the big question, right? We get what it is, but what does it actually take to build one of these things from scratch? What are all the moving parts? And more importantly, how do they all fit together? So here's our game plan. We'll kick off with the basics of RAP, and then we're going to walk through the entire building process. We're talking from laying the foundation with a database table to drawing up the blueprint, wiring up all the logic, and then finally, opening the doors by launching the service. And we'll wrap up by looking at why this skill is just so crucial for your career right now. So let's get into that first section and really make sure we're all on the same page about what RAP is and why it's become such a big deal. And here's the most important thing to get. RAP isn't just another option on the menu, it is the standard. I mean, for any new development you're doing on S/4HANA and on the Business Technology Platform or BTP, this is it. If you're working in the modern SAP world, this is the toolkit you absolutely need to master. All right, enough talk, let's start building. The best way I've found to think about creating a RAP application is kind of like building a house. And of course, every single house has to start with a solid foundation. So step one, the foundation of our entire application is a good old-fashioned database table. This is where your actual business data, your sales orders, your product info, whatever, this is where it's all going to live. Everything else we build from this point on is going to rest on this one single source of truth. Okay, the foundation is poured. Now it's time to pull out the architectural plans. We've got a place to store our data. Now we need to define the structure and the rules for how our application is actually going to use it. And this brings us right to steps 2 and 3. We're creating our data blueprint with something called a CDS view. And then we're defining the rules of the house with a behavior definition. So the CDS view, that's our app's data model. It sits right on top of our database table, and it acts like a virtual layer. It's what defines which fields we want to show, what their labels should be, how they connect to other data. It's really the blueprint that gives our raw data a meaningful shape for the person who's actually going to use the app. Now, this is a super important point, and it trips a lot of people up at first. The difference between a behavior definition and its implementation. The definition is just the rules. It just states what is allowed. Can a user create data? Can they update it, delete it? Will we use draft mode? It's all about the what. The implementation, which we'll get to in a sec, is the how. That's the actual ABAP code that makes sure everyone follows those rules. Okay, this brings us to the brains of the whole operation. We have our foundation, we have our blueprint. Now it's time to add the utilities. The plumbing, the electrical, the custom logic that makes our application smart. And we're now at step 4. Where we finally get to implement the behavior. It's time to roll up our sleeves and write the ABAP code that brings all of our rules to life. This behavior implementation class, this is home base for all your custom business logic. I'm talking about things like data validations, making sure an email address actually looks like an email address, or determinations that automatically calculate a total the second someone enters a quantity. This is where all the real magic happens. So our house is built, the utilities are all connected. The very last step is to give it an address and a front door so people can actually find it and use it. It's time to launch this thing. We have made it to our final step, exposing our brand new application as an OData service so a Fiori app can actually connect to it. And we do this with 2 simple objects. First, the service definition. It just specifies which of our CDS views we want to expose to the world. Then the service binding takes that definition and poof, it creates a live, active, runnable OData endpoint that you can test immediately in a Fiori preview. It's that simple. And here it is, the whole workflow in one neat little table. We started with the foundation, our database table. We designed the blueprint using the CDS view. We set the rules of the house with the behavior definition. wired up all the utilities in the implementation, and finally opened the front door with the service binding. It's a perfect, logical flow from just raw data all the way to a running app.
So we've walked through all the technical steps, but let's just zoom out for a second. Why does mastering this process matter so much for you and your career?
Look, the bottom line is this. Learning RIP is all about future-proofing your skills. Whether you're working on S/4HANA day-to-day or building cool new extensions on the business technology platform, this is the modern, cloud-focused development model that businesses are asking for. Mastering it means you're building for the future of SAP. So, we've laid out the entire blueprint for building a modern SAP application, from the foundation right up to the front door. The only question left is, now that you have the plan, what are you going to build first?